Hello wonderful world and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a motorcycle review. The motorcycle in question, 450MT, an offering from CFMOTO. And I need to add a Chinese motorbike. Let's start with a little bit of thrill. I'm no advanced hardcore off-road rider, but I try my best, and I really do enjoy going to places where others are maybe a little hesitant to try out. And that obviously comes with pitfalls of falling, and I fall a great deal. None are shown in this video, but what I will show you is a close-up of the 450MT. It is very easily a beautiful looking machine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the pros and cons as I see it as a rider, and some of the niggly bits which I'm still trying to digest. So shall we begin with a more thorough review? This bike offers a fair few strengths. I'm going to try to list as many as I can think, but I'm sure there's others that I've missed out. Number one, affordability. At around $8,000 to $9,000, £5,500, or just over €6,000, it's pretty cheap for a new bike. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's a Chinese bike, but eventually you'll realize with all the pros that it offers, the fact that it's Chinese is actually something that you can totally discount because the quality that they offer is substantial. Anyway, carrying on, price. Second, its weight. Now, CFMOTO have done a little porky. They've said it's 175 kilograms. That's a lie. It's 194 kilograms wet weight, 175 dry weight. But even 194 is sub 200. That makes it a little more easier off-road, which you'll see later on in this video. It's a good engine. It's not too powerful, but it's not short of a little power. 44 horsepower, and it's a parallel twin. It's smooth and doesn't feel as though it's underpowered. It has a nice upright riding position, and the seat height is 820. However, I have disbanded with a stock seat and gone for the higher seat. It's just a lot more comfortable. It means that the seat height is a tad higher, but I'm 6 foot, and it just helps a little more in terms of comfort, how you sit and how your knees sit alongside the bike. I think there will be many who say if they're over 6 foot, this bike is a little short, but I think the seat, the higher seat, not only adds comfort, but it assists those that are above 6 foot. Anyway, it's modern. It really is. I mean, look at the extras. They add TFT screen, LED lights, switchable ABS, and adjustable suspension. They have offered a lot of bells and whistles. It's decent off-road. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not saying it can handle off-road like a motocross bike, but this is more adventure with a little bit of motocross, as you'll see as I ride now, but it's not professional. I think for people who aren't going to ride hardcore off-road, this is ideal. In fact, I would go as far as saying this is perfect. Build quality is pretty good. I'm not saying it's fantastic, but it is good. And the fact that I mentioned it was Chinese at the beginning is because I just want to prove that even though this is Chinese, there's something about this bike that just shouts out high quality. And if it didn't say CFMOTO and it had a Japanese make on it, you wouldn't be the wiser. It is built well, and I think over time, maybe it might prove itself to be a real contender. One needs to appreciate also that in this category, under 500cc or around 500cc, there weren't many adventure bikes being offered. Many Japanese companies thought it just wasn't worthwhile. So CFMOTO's offering does fill a gap, and I think it filled the gap in a way where it has extended its lead with anything else that might be its competitor, like the CB 500X or even Benelli's 502X. Now, I'm an owner of a 450MT, and I know owners tend to go on about all the great things this bike has to offer. And it does offer a lot, but there are a few things which really bother me, and they niggle. One is, I think, long-term reliability is not something we're guaranteed, because it is Chinese, and Chinese bikes, even though they offer a lot, haven't really held well under the pressure of time. The test of time sometimes shows these bikes to be a little substandard. It doesn't feel that with this bike, so I'm hoping that this does prove to be the exception rather than the rule. Suspension, I was a little bit confused about. I'm over 100 kilograms, and sometimes I feel the suspension is not as soft as everyone claims. It's not as plush, it's not as comfortable. But having said that, off-road, it does hold well. On the road, not so much, but off-road, it does exceptionally well. At higher speeds, it vibrates slightly, but only slightly. And I'm not saying that is a big, disadvantage, because I think sometimes vibrations do exist, and I think this being at 450cc, when you push this too hard, those vibrations are actually a warning. So not a bad thing. Stock tires are okay. I've taken this round bends pretty sharpish, and I never lost the rear end. So I'm going to say stock tires are probably pretty good, not just okay. There's not much aftermarket support for this, but that's only because this is new. And I'm pretty sure, because it's a Chinese bike, there will be, the market rather, would be flooded with extras that are offered for this bike. One of the things I will admit to, I'm riding this in Asia, and in Asia, prices don't really drop. But in Europe and in America, used bikes tend to lose value. And I think because this isn't Japanese, this will lose a lot of value. Now, if you're okay with that, then it's, a moot point. But I think if you're not, that could be a big issue. The headlights aren't so good. In the dark, they give you visibility, but not great. And I think you need to add powerful spotlights to it. Throttle response is good, but sometimes a little too good. In other words, it shoots. When you want it to go slow, it goes too fast. And many have said it has a jerky throttle response, especially in low speeds. And I can attest to that. I find this really difficult to ride in low speeds because it kind of, it jitters, it jerks. Anyway, heat management. What I'm going to say is that this does get hot in low speeds in traffic. It will get hot, even though it's liquid cooled. One has to be careful, and I think letting it cool down is advisable. Remember, even though this is a great 450cc bike, it is only 450cc bike. That comes with advantages of lower weight, but it also comes with a disadvantage that if you push this engine hard, it will heat up more than you'd want it to. The paint and how it looks, it's pretty good. I can't see any faults, but again, under the pressure of tough weather and hard riding, we'll see how that fares. Other than that, really folks, I don't have much to report. For me, the biggest niggly bit is that jerky throttle, and I've had the ECU update, but it's still jerky. I hope that gets sorted with another update. If not, I don't know. My next situation will be to change the front sprocket from a 14T to a 15T, and also maybe tighten the throttle cable so there's less play, and see if that makes any difference. So folks, that's the end of this review. You've seen me ride it in some relatively tough terrain. Tough terrain for somebody who's a novice, maybe not so tough for somebody who's called Jarvis. And that rhymes too. Overall, the bike is a good bike. That's my conclusion. Throttle issue is something that will niggle at me, and I hope it does get solved, because riding at slow speeds in tough terrains is equally as important as riding fast. Anyway, for those on two wheels, God bless you. And for those that aren't, God bless you too. Take care, everyone. See you soon.